question.
Walaikum assalam.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghayril maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. We got a lot of interesting things that's happening in the world today. And everything that happens affects us one way or the other. And this is why we should always try to keep up with whatever is happening, whether it's nearby or far away. Because it doesn't matter, it's like a pebble dropping in water. And the ripple may not reach you and not be as strong when it does reach you early or first, but it will eventually reach you. We will eventually be affected by it, one way or the other, good or bad. But do we worry about things like that? No. Because Allah makes winners and He makes losers. Oh yeah, Brother Dawood was just giving me the $10 that I loaned him yesterday. He's not giving me this for charity. I don't put charity in my pocket. I give charity to Omar. This is not charity. This is a loan repayment. Well, you know, sometimes we have such warped minds. You know, we begin to think negatively about a lot of things. So just to be on the safe side, I mentioned it while Dawood is sitting here so that he can correct me if I'm wrong. And since he didn't correct me, so I must be right. It is a payback of a loan, which is a quick payback. And I've given out tons of money at different times and don't hear from people again. And I forget about it. I couldn't remember right now who it was or how much it was if I had to. But it doesn't matter. To me it doesn't. To them it should matter. But to me it shouldn't matter. Because whatever you give out with sincerity. Whether it is a gift or whether it's a loan or whatever, you give it out with complete sincerity. And you give it based upon what you hear from someone and based upon what they say to you about what they're asking you for. If they're asking you for a gift, then or for a charity, that's one thing. You don't expect that back. Your reward comes from Allah. And you don't mention that anymore. But if they ask you for a loan and they say that's what it is, then you expect that back. You expect it back. But if it does not come back, it's not on you. It's on the person that has made that oath and that bargain to you about what they, what the transaction is all about. It becomes a business transaction then. And whether the business transaction is completed or not, it tells you a lot about the individual. And after a while, you just forget about it and leave it in the hands of Allah. That's the peaceful way of going about it. The other way of going about it will cause a lot of headaches for not just for the two parties involved, but for the extended families of those loved ones. And yes, sir, you had a question?
No, so we got a principal back east, and I've seen it too many times. You would lend money and you wouldn't pay back. I seen a lot of Negroes get broken up and almost killed. And you don't never forget what you done seen or where you come from. That's why they got a principle strong back here. If you owe, pay back. If you ain't got it, let them know. Say, hey man, my attention, I told you certain thing. But see, it's different back there than it is out here. Cause I seen somebody almost get killed over 25 cents on a pint of wine.
Well, it's not the 25 cents, it's the principle.
You're right.
It's the principle of it. And then this has happened between most of these stories that we tell involve people that don't have the virtuous idea and the concept that Muslims have. Muslims have a different concept of how we react to negative things. And we don't act to negative things like most non-Muslims do. Non-Muslims will hurt you in situations like that. But Muslims don't take that, don't go to that extreme. Muslims are more balanced than that. And they have great faith and trust of God to the point where they leave it in His hands. But the individual who has done these things, they should know that even though you may not make an issue out of it, it is something that rests with God, and God will. And all the issues we're told in the Quran goes back to God for settlement, and we just leave it up to God and go about our business. But God will bless us in one way or the other for anything that we lose, if it's deserving so, and it will always be charged to those who made an oath or made a bargain and did not keep it. That is on them if they don't keep it. It's not on you, but it's on them. But in the world out there, people will go to the other extremes over small amounts of money that it's not it will not save your life or not take your life. But it's not the money. It's not the money that they give you that is the cause here. It's the principle of it. The principle of it, of someone taking something from you without your permission. That's the principle. The amount, it could be $1, it could be 50 cents, and or less. But it's the principle, and I've heard it all my life, especially in gambling, shoot dice and things of that nature. And this is not the only reason why it is forbidden for Muslims to indulge in those kind of things, but because there are other reasons too, physical and spiritual reasons. But Muslims are forbidden to involve themselves in gambling and games of chance of that nature, simply because it doesn't lead to anything good. It doesn't lead to anything good. I remember a situation that my father got involved in. He used to run a gambling house on the weekend, and he was the house man, because it was our house, but they was in the basement, and I used to go down there and look. I never participated, but I used to go down and look when I was a teenager, and the people be saying some awful things down there about what happened when you try to take their money. Because I heard my father snatched his money out of a guy's hand one time and told him, said, look, I'll give you something, but you ain't gonna take a so thing from me. That, if drinking is at hand, a lot of it's at hand, that is the reason for a fight to take place. And usually somebody gets hurt. And oftentimes somebody gets killed. And the thing about it is, it's not that the one that's gotten killed, the misery and the suffering that their family goes through. So the person that did the killing got the satisfaction of killing, instant satisfaction, but as things continue to unfold, he ends up in an institution himself. So he brings suffering on his family too for having such a short temper. But in Islam, we try to avoid certain issues like that or anything like that that would lead to a particular situation that will cause a argument or fight or disturbance between men or between brothers or between people of the same persuasion. That's why in Islam we don't participate in those things, because those things are dangerous to participate in, and dangerous to me and you, and also dangerous to the extended family. And just like we talked about the ripple of the stone being thrown in the water, that has a ripple effect too. A ripple effect upon the family that survives, on both sides. But see, in a lot of cultures in Islam, a lot of cultures in Islam, and I say it that way because all Muslims don't practice the same culture. The Prophet didn't forbid us practicing whatever culture that we of the environment in which we live. He never forbid that. The only thing that we're forbidden to do is to practice those things, if it's in our culture, that are not right and does not conform to what is right and what's beneficial for the general society. Because we have to remember that Prophet Muhammad, praise and peace be upon him, was born in a society that had culture. They had culture. And a lot of the cultures of the early Arab society was accepted by Prophet Muhammad. And some people call it Sunnah now, but it wasn't Sunnah. It was just culture that was being practiced before Islam. So what made it Sunnah after the revelation? It was already being practiced. It's like eating with your hands. Eating with your hands is nothing new. All native people start out eating with their hands. What else are they going to eat with? They don't have forks and knives and things of that nature, so they eat with their hands. But as they evolve, they begin to invent tools and things that help them feed themselves with other things. They used to kill the animals with just a blunt blow. But Islam forbid us from doing it that way, from eating something that is bluntly killed like that. And in this society, a lot of the meats that we eat, ground meats that we eat, are meat that are the result of a blunt blow to the head of an animal, especially beef. And a lot of these slaughtering houses, that's how they kill the beef. They pound his head with some kind of instrument that causes their death. We're not supposed to eat that. But that's not part of our culture. That's part of the culture of the country in which we live. But and it is one that we forbid, or is one that we don't participate in once we come into Islam and find out that Allah has forbidden this type of food for us. We don't forbid other people that are not Muslims from doing these things. That's not right on our part, and it's not for making friends on our part either. And now Islam basically is about that. It is about making friends and peace among the people in which we live. Look, the prophet, and our example is the prophet. The prophet received the revelation when he was 40 years old. And at that time, the Kaaba was full of idols. Full of idols. But the prophet used to go to the Kaaba after the revelation and pray. He used to go there and stand in front of the Kaaba and pray. Yes, the Kaaba was full of idols. Well, he wasn't praying to the idols. He was praying to a ritual that was established during the time of Ibrahim, Prophet Ibrahim, prayers and peace be upon him, and his son, Prophet Ishmael. But he was praying. But he knew within himself that at some point in time, as his ministry evolved, that building is going to be rid of those things. Going to be rid of those things. So it wouldn't become a practice. So those things was eliminated. And the Muslims are still doing that. It's like before him, people used to march around there and make tawaf naked. Some of them. Naked. I mean, according to the history. Well, those things were not eliminated until the Prophet's mission was like maybe 15 or 16 years old, when he came back to Mecca with these 10,000 Muslims and made Hajj. And he eliminated the idols and eliminated all the other practices, because even though it was part of their culture, of the surrounding tribes too, nevertheless, Islam forbid that. So the good things in the society, we learn how to keep. But the bad things in society, we learn how to forbid. Like the Imam Muhammad made a statement when he first became leader. He said that all of the things that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught, he said, if you know the Quran, he said all the things that he taught, if you can find it in the Quran, follow that. But if you cannot find it in the Quran, get rid of it. Now that's a simple statement. Mm-hmm. That's a very simple but powerful. Powerful, isn't it? He's not killing anybody. He's not harming anybody. He's not condemning anybody. He's talking about a culture that we had developed under Mr. W.D. Farad and under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's leadership over since 1930, that wasn't part of Islam. So that statement was only telling us that if these cultures or habits that we have developed under the name Islam, and if it cannot be found in the primary source of Islam, then don't practice it anymore. That's a statement for all of us. So those things that we found that was good, we kept. And those things that we found that was not good, we didn't keep. But there were a group of us, as there always are, that wanted to keep everything. So they went on off and they kept all of those things. But all of those things were un-Islamic things. Un-Islamic things, like the stories of Yaqub and 76 trillion years ago and all of that, so far in the past that nobody really knows anyway. But those things were not Islamic according to the Quran. And Allah reveals the Quran, so Allah can't make mistakes. He cannot make mistakes. And he did not make any mistakes. And when he revealed the Quran, when he started revealing the Quran, the Prophet made sure that he had writers around him that would record the revelation once he had received it, so that the accuracy of it could be made from that beginning. For instance, who would that be? Hudaybiyah. Hudaybiyah, we know, was a treaty. Was the place where a treaty was signed between the Meccans and the Prophet and his followers, prayers and peace be upon him. Well, we also know that teaches us a lesson that we can have treaties with non-Muslim people. We can have treaties with non-Muslim people, and if you read that treaty, all of the so-called benefits